Okay, good evening. It is 5:45, so I will call to order the September 4th, 2025 regular meeting of the Hendersonville City Council. We start our meetings with a silent invocation for people to pray or meditate as they choose, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll join me in the pledge, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Could we get our
sheets?
Yeah, we need to get our.
You want me to get them?
Brian's getting our sign-in sheets.
Jill's not here and everything's falling
Jill's
apart.
not here to do it, so.
Everything's falling apart.
All right. Okay. Okay, we have 6 people signed up here to speak. Is anyone online seeking recognition to also want to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so we'll go with these 6. Going to have to limit people to 3 minutes since we have so many people signed up. If people are talking about the same topic, we would appreciate it if you didn't just repeat what previous people have said. We are listening to all of it, and it would help very much with moving things along. And what I will call the name and ask people to come to the microphone and give your name and address for the clerk's record. First of all, is it Lois Van Rees? Yes, if you'll come forward, please.
Good evening. I am Lois Van Rees. I live at 131 Creek Walk Lane in Hendersonville, which is the HOA of Wolf Chase. While I read my comments, I'd like to direct the board to the one-page photo that was handed out to you prior to the meeting. On August 28, I sent an email to city officials along with Henderson County engineers, 4-Star Construction, and the Hendersonville Taxation Department requesting a face-to-face meeting with the residents of Wolf Chase to discuss solutions to the mud and flooding issues created by clear-cutting Half Moon Heights. I have previously requested a meeting and have received no reply. I notice that agenda item number 6 will pertain to the construction runoff from Half Moon Heights. On August 27th, it appears there was a meeting of these officials to discuss solutions to the flooding. I am appalled that the affected party, i.e. Wolf Chase, was not invited to participate. Wolf Chase has experienced 17 documented mudslides and flooding episodes since January of 24. Except for Hurricane Helene, these mudslides were not a result of massive rainfall. In fact, our latest rainfall, dated August 14th, was only 3.5 inches. The top 2 photos on your handout will show the results. This rain also flooded a home on Foxtail for the 2nd time in 1 year. So I have questions for the council and city officials. Once 4-Star leaves the mountain, who pays for the ongoing cleanup of this mud and flooding? The bottom left picture shows what our retention basin looked like before 4-Star started clear cutting. Prior to 4-Star clearing the mountain, our basin was free of debris, and it drained the water after any amount of rain to where it was dry within a few hours to days. That is no longer the case, as you can see in the other photo at the bottom. Water is held in the basin, and silt continues to be washed into it. Our volunteers cleared this basin in 2021, They did so to save the HOA money. When the basin again fills with silt and mud, who pays for that? City Manager John Conant has stated in an email to me dated May 28th, the private stormwater system will be maintained by the HOA/residents of that development. How I read this statement is that the mud that plugs up our basin is Wolf Chase's financial responsibility. He's saying it's not the responsibility of Four Star, who created the problem, nor is it on the city who approved this development. It is on our residents. This is unacceptable. This is why we need to have a face-to-face meeting with the officials. Please provide us with a date to meet before Four Star leaves this mountain. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Van Rees. Ken Fitch?
Ken Fitch, 1046 Patton Street. I plan to speak on two items, one of which was the Apple Festival, and I was going to speak, but time is limited, so I have to do that at some other time because there's a once-in-a-lifetime recognition necessary. Tonight, with some sadness, we bid farewell to one of the treasured members of our community, Tyler Morrow, who with his special skills and character has been called to service in locations beyond the city limits. In his work here, Tyler has been treasured for his personal integrity, his professional diligence, and perhaps most of all, for his patience, caring, and respect for others, even in the most complex and complicated situations. His low-key style of presentation was often a distinctive asset in high-stress proceedings. One memorable occasion speaks to his special qualities and personal character, and is emblematic of his caring and respect for others. A while back, in this room, there was a neighborhood compatibility meeting for a project on one of those parcels that would seem to defy sensible development. But just before the meeting, an elderly gentleman entered the room, walking with slow, measured steps and with a degree of uncertainty and hesitancy. He came over to me and, in a brief conversation, said he had never been to a public meeting before, but he received this letter to appear as he lived next to the property in question. I explained how the meeting would run, and he would have the opportunity to ask questions and comment, and he took a seat back there. Tyler proceeded to open the meeting, followed by the developer's presentation. And then Tyler, who was seated at a desk near to where the city attorney is now, and there was a microphone on the desk, and he opened the meeting for comment. And a few of us did speak, after which Tyler asked if anyone else wished to comment, but no one did. But then Tyler, who was always attuned to others, spoke directly to this elderly gentleman, asking if he wished to speak. And sensing a response, Tyler immediately stood up, picked up the microphone, and maneuvered the wire and brought the mic directly to this gentleman to speak, which turned out to be very significant, not only for empowering this resident to communicate important information and concerns, but also for the developer, who thus became aware of changes that would be necessary. And then after the meeting, this elderly gentleman now felt empowered to get up and slowly walk to engage further with the developer. After which, with a slow but steadier walk, he walked to the door with a visible sense of accomplishment, satisfaction, and empowerment. Very typical of Tyler. With his accessibility and respect and concern for others, he would become, for many in the community, the go-to person for a host of questions. Tyler, in his communications with us, would sometimes finish with the closing, "Have a blessed day." But I don't think Tyler ever realized that for some, he was the blessing of the day. Tyler, thank you and farewell.
Thank you, Mr. Fitch. Amy Dernberger?
Hi, my name is Amy Dernberger, and I live at 709 Hebron Road. And Gina happens to be one of my neighbors. She's just half a block down the street from me. First, I want to say that I love living in Hendersonville, and I value all of the work that all the city employees do, especially those that help maintain the Oklawaha Greenway. But I am here to actually ask for clarification for one of my actually just received utility bills. Several of my neighbors, and myself included, were a little bit dismayed when we opened our most recent bill and saw that our garbage collection rate had gone up 30%. So I just wanted to ask for clarification of why that significant percentage-wise increase. So I didn't know if this was the time for me to ask that question, or if this could be routed to me separately.
That section of the budget has to be self-sustaining. And so costs were going up, and the only way to cover it is through raising the rates. So that was basically the reasoning for the increase.
At a 30% level, though, that's my real sort of question.
Mayor, if I may ask,
Yeah.
can we schedule a time
Sure.
to meet with us, to
Yeah.
meet with the staff?
Yeah.
We'll be glad to show you the numbers. It's all
Okay.
what we have, and kind of explain where we are and why we did what we had to do. So happy to do that and have that conversation. So
Absolutely. Okay, that'd be great.
yeah,
So just coordinate with you.
if you just send me an email
Okay,
and we'll put it together and meet. That's
all
okay.
right. I'm under my time then. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, happy to sit down and go through all the details.
Okay. Next is it Mara Fernandez? Maria, okay. If you'll,
I'm from Wolf Chase, so I'm not going to take up the time.
okay,
I'm going to reiterate what was stated about
okay.
the situation.
Thank you. Pat Grimes. Okay, thank you. And Maggie Sirik? Sirik?
I'm sorry. I'm in perfect agreement with all of us. We've had several
Okay,
issues, and they really need to be resolved.
okay,
I thank you for your time.
okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. All right, is there anyone now seeking recognition?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you all. Right. First item of business is consideration of the agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to have added to or removed from tonight's agenda, or a motion to approve?
Madam Mayor, I move that City Council approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Not those in favor of the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it. We have our agenda. Consent agenda, is there anything anyone would like to have moved from the consent agenda to the regular agenda so it can be discussed? Or if not, a motion to approve?
Madam Mayor, I move that City Council approve the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Not those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it, and we've got that taken care of. Right. Okay, move into the Half Moon Heights discussion. who's going to lead this off. Brent?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. So I just wanted to give an update on, obviously, this is a development project that is currently under construction. Is this better? Hello?
And just for the public in the room, this is Brent Detweiler. He's Assistant City Manager for Public Services, also a professional engineer.
Good evening. I'll speak as loudly as I can. So the Half Moon Heights project is currently under development, and as the folks that live downstream in Wolf Chase have mentioned, there have been some issues downstream. As a result, city staff met last week with Henderson County and the developers at Half Moon Heights. So just wanted to refresh everybody because I think there might be some misunderstandings, in particular regarding the stormwater program. So as you all know, the city has a MPDS Phase 2 permit with the state and with the US EPA. So MPDS is National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System. It was part of the Clean Water Act, or a result of the Clean Water Act, and we've had a permit since, I want to say, around 2005. And so the city is an MS4 operator, so that means stands for Municipal Separate Stormwater System, MS4. So we actually, we are required, the city is required to develop, implement, and enforce a stormwater management program. And that is to reduce pollutants from getting into waterways to the maximum extent practicable, and to protect water quality. So along with that, there are 6 minimum measures that go with the permit. One of those is construction site runoff control. That's one of the 6 minimum measures. So that particular measure is delegated to Henderson County. Henderson County does, they actually take care of that part of the permit for us, as well as other communities. They do it for, that's in the bottom bullet point there, Henderson County Soil Erosion and Sediment Control, the local program, takes care of erosion sediment control for unincorporated areas in Henderson County, as well as us, the city of Hendersonville, Village of Flat Rock, Town of Laurel Park, and the Town of Fletcher. And we, as the city, take care of the other 5 minimum measures. And another one of those is post-construction stormwater management. So that, I think, is where there might be a little bit of misunderstanding here. So the construction site runoff is technically the city's responsibility, but that responsibility is delegated to Henderson County. Post-construction stormwater management is the city's responsibility. And those two things are very different, as I'll show you here in a little bit. So this is the current condition of the development. This is from a drone footage from August 24th. So as you can see from the photo, there's active grading and some infrastructure installation, meaning there are some roads being graded in, and for the most part, the water and sewer is already in for most of the project. The project is split up into 3 phases, and the primary deficiency that has been identified this by Henderson County staff when they do inspections of the site is lack of vegetation on the construction site. And there's been heavy rainfall that has caused repeated sediment-laden runoff events. And as you know, as the folks from Wolf Chase mentioned earlier, downstream neighborhood has been impacted. So these photos were just from today, actually, out on the site. So you can see here in the upper right-hand corner is just one of the areas that, where you can see some very sparse vegetation. The other three areas are roadways, and, excuse me, this is Half Moon Trail. So as Half Moon Trail was an existing road that kind of went up the mountain, and at some point the developer milled or ground down the existing pavement of that roadway. So along the roadway are these things called curb inlets, and I don't know if there you go. So maybe the battery's not working. Sorry. Yeah, it's not working great, but you can see my cursor here. So basically, these are curb inlets. So this is where the stormwater runoff, as it's traveling down the road, would be going into, and would be going into a stormwater system. So when the pavement is ground down, it's ground down several inches, at least 2 to 2.5, maybe even 3 inches. The water can't get into the curb and down into the curb inlet. So as a result, any of the stormwater, when there's a significant rain event and there's stormwater, and you can see by the site, and here's some other conditions, you can see by the site there isn't really any vegetation per se, so the sediment in the soil runs off and runs down, for the most part, down this road. And I think some of the pictures that the folks in the subdivision had shared in the past showed sediment down at the bottom of the hill, actually in their subdivision, on the roadway, or partially in the roadway. So, so that is one of the things that is happening. But again, it's primarily because of the site, two main things. The site is not stabilized, so there's no vegetation. There should be vegetation on the site. Even while it's being constructed, there should be vegetation on the site. And the runoff that is traveling down the roadway can't get into the existing stormwater system. So these are, again, some of the summary of the inspection findings. So this is from drone footage from last week. So routine inspections are noting recurring deficiencies, sediment discharges documented after storms. Rainfall has exceeded 1 inch on multiple occasions, and I just wanted to let you know, during construction, when there is a rainfall event that exceeds 1 inch, the developer is required, per their permit with Henderson County, they have to come out on site and do a full inspection report. And usually, excuse me, Henderson County follows that up, and they come out and do their own inspection. And as you can see, July and August inspections coincided with heavy rain events. So again, some of the additional inspection findings, there was damaged or overtopped silt fences. Sediment is escaping some of the buffer zones. The basins are full and discharging during rain events. And there are some slopes with rills and gullies that need stabilized. So I know there's a lot going on here, but basically last week during our meeting on site, the developer presented to the county's staff this revised erosion sediment control plan that calls for additional silt fences, rock check dams, regrading of diversion ditches, rip-wrapping outlets, and all of this is to designed to reduce downstream sedimentation. And one of the things to note I wish the cursor was working on here. One of the things to note, and there it goes. So this area, which is just upstream of Wolf Chase, is just off the screen here to the, just above the screen. So this particular piece of infrastructure was a sediment pond. The developer told us over the last 3 weeks or so, they actually removed that sediment pond and installed their post-construction stormwater measure, which is StormTech. It's the underground system. And they did that to basically be able to hold additional water because its size, it has more additional volume or more volume than the sediment basin does. So they did that, kind of unbeknownst to us. We didn't realize that they had done that. And they were instructed that those particular facilities, although it can hold sediment-laden water, those types of, or that type of infrastructure is meant for after construction. So after the site is fully constructed, stabilized, the site's, houses are built and everything, and it's in post-construction mode. That's what those facilities are made for. So that particular, the stormwater, the underground detention could see, a lot of sediment, and it could result in that system definitely having to be cleaned, but possibly even being replaced based on how much sediment is getting into that. So based on all of that, the developer, and I understand that there was, the last event, I don't remember the date off the top of my head, but the last significant event, I think it was mentioned 3.5-inch rain, which is pretty substantial actually. That rain actually washed sediment into a neighboring home. We understand the developer cleaned that up. And in addition to that, they've taken some of these steps, and I'll go through each of them. They've mucked, they've cleaned out the sediment ponds, and they're installing new baffles, which are designed to withhold the sediment or keep the sediment from, they kind of allow the sediment to settle out. Those are going to be installed by end of business tomorrow. This is from an email from the developer just this afternoon. By the end of the day tomorrow, everything on the site will be ready for seed, and their seeding company is scheduled to be on site on Monday to scarcify. That just means kind of scratch up the surface so the seeds take, and then start seeding. Until then, this is per Henderson County. Thank you, appreciate it. There is no land disturbing activities will resume until the site is fully stabilized. Half Moon Trail, I mentioned earlier how the road had been milled or ground down, so the water can't get into the curb inlets. So Half Moon Trail and Road B, which is the road on the left of the screen, kind of the road that's kind of going up and down there. That is B, so that's going to be paved along with Half Moon Trail. It will be ready to repaved on September 8th. And then the developer is working with a specialty firm. They've told us and told Henderson County, we're getting, again, I go back to Henderson County is their permit, the developer's permit is with Henderson County. Obviously, the developments in the city, the downstream property owners are in the city, so we obviously want to be part of those discussions. So the developer is working with a new specialty firm, and they're working on additional recommendations for sediment and erosion control, and then they are going to be updating this plan more formally with these even additional measures, and they're going to be providing that to Henderson County for review and approval. So I know that's a lot. I don't have anything beyond this, but I'd be happy to go over anything in detail, answer any additional questions, go back and look at the photos if you have some specific questions. But again, we're working with Henderson County and their staff to, and I know Henderson County is working hard to try to, this very challenging site. And the developer acknowledged to us out in the field that they are, that they're taking responsibility, or they said that they are taking responsibility and are committed to cleanup efforts and getting the site stabilized.
So, any question, what I'd like to do is have any questions about current situation and what Brent's talked about at this point and then, but afterwards, we get through that process, I would like for you to talk a little bit about post-construction and how our stormwater program works and how, where the response, those kind of things. So.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, do we know exactly when the original level 2 permit was issued?
The erosion sediment control permit, I do not have that information off the top of my head, but I'm sure it was, if you all were saying that there was a runoff in January of last year, I'm sure it was around that time, probably.
And do we know, like, so you currently have an active permit. It has not actually been denied or revoked. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Developer. At what point does a developer's permit come in jeopardy of being revoked for noncompliance?
I don't think they revoke the permit. I don't think they revoke the permits. I think what happens is the county, I mean, this is how we would treat the project. The county would issue a notice of violation.
Okay.
And, there could, at some point, I'm guessing, I'm not super familiar with their ordinance, but I'm guessing at some point that could result in maybe a fine or something like that, or a work stoppage. I understand there have been at least a couple of notice of violations on this project, not recently, but back in the spring, when I think maybe several of you, or I know at least John was out on site, and Mike Huffman was out on site, and I think that was April timeframe.
And Councilmember Hensley went with me. We went out and looked at the site.
And then, so the developer's proposed permitting portion where there's greater than an inch of rain, and you had a slide where there had been assessments, were those assessments performed by the county, or were those assessments performed by the actual developer?
Both. So the developer, so the county gets all, so the developer, as part of their sediment and erosion control permit, the developer or the contractor, in this case the developer, they're required to look at all of their features once a week. They need to review everything, make sure everything's in place, there's no like gaps in the silt fence and things like that. And then in addition to that, after every 1 inch or more rain event per their permit, they have to get out on site and make sure that everything's working correctly and everything. So they have provided all of those reports, obviously, to Henderson County, but we asked for those last week when I got involved and asked them for that information. They provided it. It honestly kind of showed the same thing that the county's inspection reports had said, is the site's not, they can't get the site stabilized.
Okay. And do we know if the developer has been fined already?
I don't
There's been
know.
notices of violation, but have they
There have been,
actually-
I don't know.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Anyone else? In their plans for remediating the problems, is any part of it digging out the wolf chase? The ones that have already been damaged and flooded over and filled in?
So this is just per the developer. We haven't verified this, but the developer told us that they had cleaned out those facilities once, I think at least once. I don't know if that's the case or not, but certainly from what they were telling us out in the field, that they assumed responsibility for any of the sediment leaving the site, and they would be.
Going to other sediment ponds and filling them
Right,
up?
right. So that, that they would be cleaning that up. If you want me to get a little bit into the post-construction stormwater, so the pond or the facility that the folks from Wolf Chase are talking about, that is a post-construction stormwater feature. Pretty sure it's a dry pond. Mike would know for sure, but there are, every development now, especially since the NPDES permit system, has to have some sort of stormwater, where it's retaining stormwater on site, and basically allowing it to, allowing the mostly sediments or pollutants to kind of settle out. The water's retained at a certain rate and then left to leave the site. So, so basically, in this particular case, the feature that is on the Wolf Chase site has gotten sediment in from upstream, obviously. But once the Half Moon Heights development is done, once the lots are in, everything's great, the final grade is done, everything, there's grass everywhere or trees, vegetation, then at that point, it's considered a post-construction stormwater management system. So all those sediment control features are removed and permanent stormwater features are put in place. Like in this particular case, their plan, their post-construction stormwater management plan, which went through Mike reviewed that and approved their plan, but it includes the storm tech chambers, the underground chambers. So after the site is fully stabilized, there should not be much sediment at all in the runoff. It certainly won't be like it is now. It will be much less sediment, so it will be strictly just rainwater, stormwater runoff, and that runoff will be directed into those stormwater features. And if you recall, as part of that development project, those stormwater features were sized for a 50-year rain event, because of I think a lot of that was because of the concern from downstream neighbors of the amount of stormwater that could be getting off of the site. So, and per our permit, what's required is up to a 10-year storm. So, so basically the stormwater features are oversized, or the stormwater retention is oversized on the Half Moon Heights development site. So that hopefully, that certainly wouldn't, anything over a 50-year event, i.e. Helene or anything in between a 50 and that level event, would result in additional stormwater coming off that site, but anything under a 50-year event would be held.
Mayor Pro, real quick, the initial permit was issued January of 24, January 5th of 24. Our city engineer sent that to us just now. Thank you, Brendan.
I think I had heard at one point there was volunteers from Wolf Chase did a cleaning out of the basin in 2021. Is that, I'm not familiar with how those basins work necessarily, like the frequency of when they need to be treated, or do they ever need to be treated? Like, was that something that development had preemptively done on their own, or is this maintenance that they have been doing in the past at a certain frequency?
So as part of the post-construction stormwater maintenance plan, which again is administered by us, and that's Mike's, in Mike's purview. So those permits, there are recorded requirements that go with the land, where those, usually it's an HOA, is actually responsible for maintaining those features. So depending on what the feature is, it varies on what the, what the inspection looks like and what, the things that are looked for. Like if there are cattails or things like that growing, that's taking up space, that's taking up volume, or if there's a lot of, if there are trees starting to grow up in the bottom of a dry pond, that's actually taking up volume that would be used to store stormwater. So those are things that are pointed out by our stormwater team. So Mike or Dustin go out annually. They provide this service. Some folks charge for this. We do not. The city provides the service, and they go out to all these permitted stormwater control measures, and they inspect them and provide a summary to the HOA of what, any deficiencies. So I'm guessing what was done in 2021 were probably some deficiencies that were pointed out by our team, and then they corrected those. And usually our folks then follow up and make sure that the corrections have been done properly.
So that seems pretty highly specialized, maintaining those systems. Are there regulations in place for how those are maintained, or who has to do, is it a licensed person or?
No, it's usually a contractor. There are some specialty companies that do that or even like landscaping companies, or sometimes in the case of like Half Moon Heights, those are storm tech chambers. So usually there are inspection ports on those. So it's usually popping those open, seeing if there's sediment or like bottles or whatever. And it would be kind of, you can't get down in those for the most part, but you can have a vector or something like that come and suck the material out. So that would be something that obviously there would be kind of a specialty contractor or a contractor that does that type of thing. But there are enough of those in the area, in the region, that's usually not a problem for folks to be able to find somebody to do it.
And then are the inspections of existing post-construction stormwater retention, are those driven, are the inspections, do they occur by a complaint basis, or are they just a very regular inspection?
They're annual, so they're required to be inspected annually. So like I said, we do that. I want to say on occasion, Mike would know for sure, but I'm sure at some point over the years, maybe we've gotten a complaint from a downstream property owner, and he or Dustin have gone out and looked at the facility. But I don't know that for sure, but I'm guessing over the years that's probably happened.
Okay, thank you.
Do the costs of any needed updates always fall on residents and HOAs, or are there any situations where there's a long-term plan with developers or a 5-year plan with developers to maintain systems or anything like that?
So our agreement runs with the property. We execute those when, at the time that the post-construction stormwater permit is given, and that usually runs with the property owner at the time. So that's probably I don't know that we can't really control that, but I don't know if that's ever happened in the past where a developer is with an HOA made an agreement that they would, maintain it for several years. But I don't think that's ever something that we have included or can include, really.
So generally, it's likely that it would fall on the community to maintain those systems after they fail or after they need replacing or upkeep.
Yep.
Angie, there's something too, right, where a lot of developments, at least I know our house in Flat Rock was this way, it actually didn't even get turned over to an HOA for a certain period of time until a certain percentage of the homes were sold. Is that something that we monitor?
It is not anything we monitor, but it is in the covenants, and it's very standard because the developers like to maintain control and be able to make amendments and modifications, and so they retain control until usually, a lot of times it's till the last lot is sold. But that's totally up to them to put in the covenants, the period of it's declarant control is what that's called.
And usually we don't accept, I guess accept isn't the right term, but usually we're not, especially if a project is phased, we're not inspecting until kind of the entire project is complete.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I would just hate for there to be a situation where, in either development, really, if the HOA was not over full control over all the finances and the actual upkeep and maintenance, then, let's say it takes 2 or 3 years to sell all the lots, then is there this limbo period of time where there's not really any accountability on that aspect of it?
It's usually one or the other. Until it's turned over, it's the developer's responsibility. It's usually the way it works until it gets turned over. Mhm.
Did I understand the last slide correctly that said they're not going to do any further land disturbing work until they have this new plan approved?
That's what they had said, and until they have the site stabilized.
Which is different from getting the new plan approved.
Yeah, I mean, how long does it take grass to grow? So it'll take a little bit of time to get the site stabilized, so that.
Is it them saying the site, it's stabilized now, or is the county going to go back?
No,
and
that's
say
the
it's
county.
stabilized now?
That was the direction given by the county, and the developer came off with that first, but the county staff then followed that up in writing.
Okay.
So John and I were out there a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I feel like. And so I'm kind of frustrated with how long it's taken to see action from the erosion control folks. And so if we can at least act on somewhat behalf of just trying to encourage them to make sure that they are, keeping this permit on the up and up.
It's definitely on our radar, and we'll keep following up. We have staff, we have inspectors that are on site. I don't know as much so now with the utilities in the state that they're in, but, we can swing by and.
I think
keep an
as
eye
it
on
would be,
things.
even though the county handles erosion control, I think what I'm hearing, and I'm hearing direction from the council, is that our construction team take a regular inspection and a regular drive-through to monitor, to make sure there is no activity, so that if we need to call our colleagues at the county, we can do that and inquire, is what I'm hearing council asked staff to do. Again, other than following up and gentle nudging, sorry, that's, but we will take that upon and put that on our drive-by schedule, right, Ms. Scott?
If I may add, the county is a guest in our Teams system for our active construction projects.
Chris, can you come to the microphone, please?
Yeah.
This is Chris Conard, our construction manager.
So the inspectors are still on site fairly regularly, and part of their workflow is they are to post pictures to our Teams channel for this project daily. And the county is tied into that channel as well. And anytime we see something that is of concern, we will tag the county personnel in it, draw their attention to the pictures. So we are actively trying to help the county, and that's something we do on every project from the day it starts until my inspectors no longer have a reason to be out there.
Okay.
So we try to be the county's eyes on site as much as we can.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one clarifying question. Road B will be ready to be paved next week. Is that planned to go ahead as part of like a preventative measure for downstream runoff? Or is it part of what's considered land disturbance and it would wait?
No, paving wouldn't be, I mean, technically, I guess disturbance is, paving could be considered disturbance, but in this case, it would be a good thing,
Yeah,
pave.
so they're
roads.
planning to go ahead with it ASAP. Okay, thanks. Just wanted to make sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so hopefully the folks here have some answers, not solutions yet, but if you have not yet been in contact with the county, that appears to be the place to go right now.
We are in regular contact
Okay,
with the county.
good. Glad to hear that. Okay, well, it is on our radar and has been for a while, and we will do what we can at this point. Okay, so thank you all for your concern. We're concerned too, and we're seeing what we can do. Okay.
May I just say one more thing regarding this? In addition,
Yeah.
sorry. In addition to the retention pond that I highlighted in my talk, I understand that Four Star has committed to digging that out for a second time. They did that maybe 18 months ago. They've committed to doing that once they have stabilized, and I applaud them for that. That isn't the only damage that they've done to us. They have literally destroyed the asset of our walking trail. Our half-mile walking trail is no longer usable, and the realtors used to use that as a selling feature to sell our homes and to draw people into that beautiful facility. They've taken that from us, and I doubt very much that we will ever get it back based on how they are processing the stormwater and draining it down the stream. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just, Mayor Vogt, if I can ask Brent a question. They did commit to repairing that, is my understanding. I don't want to defend them, but I think they did commit to repairing it.
They did come and do what I call a Band-Aid. They put mulch on top of the muck, so it's never going to dry out. That trail is never going to be the same. They did put our bridges back, and I thank them for that. Those bridges were taken off their foundation during the massive water that came down with, I believe it was Helene. So they did put those back into place, but the trail, it still gets massive flooding even after 3.5 inches of rain. Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we will go on to our public hearings. You're welcome to stay, but you're also welcome to leave at this point. What?
I worked in environmental health for 30 years in Henderson County, okay? And I know y'all approved the development. Just one last question. You need to look, that's about 10 to 30% slope property. And they cleared all the vegetation off. In my years of watching and seeing developments take place, builders knew doing the sections, and you can control that. That wasn't done here. And I'm sorry, but I guess that falls on all of us,
Okay.
and a lot of it with the contractor. So we need to start asking these questions in the future, because this got some slope.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so our first public hearing is a zoning text amendment, 3 and 4 family compliance, and FIL.
Fee in lieu, yes. Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. It's good to see you all. Hopefully, this is as close as a zoning text amendment can get to what, would be considered potentially on the consent agenda. This is changes to our ordinance that are necessary to remain in compliance with state law and also to reflect changes to our budget. And so specifically, it is addressing a change in state law that expanded the types of construction that will fall under the residential building code. The residential building code previously had been just for single-family and two-family structures, and now it's been expanded to structures that have up to 4 units in them. So 4-family, 3-family, 2-family, and 1-family, all built under the residential code, no longer under the commercial code. There is also in 160D requirements or limitations to applying architectural design standards to anything that's built under the residential building code. So now that limitation has been expanded up to quadplexes. And so what we've done here is gone through and clarified the references to those limitations in our zoning ordinance where we have design standards and stating that, hey, we encourage application of these design standards, but we cannot require them for single, 2, 3, and 4 family structures. And then also the fee in lieu of sidewalks fee went up, so we're addressing that as well. So the nature of the changes related to the state law changes really fall into kind of 2 nuanced categories. The first one, most straightforward, is just wherever it's stated that this section is not required for single-family and 2-family, we're expanding that to say that it's not required for 3 and 4-family as well. And the other change is that we've been doing some of our text amendments, we've been working towards this goal of not necessarily relieving single-family, 2-family, townhome types of developments from site design standards, but because that's not required by state law. And so we're also aligning with state law in that respect to say, so like this section right here from C1 standards, where it has standards for street walls, structured parking, screening, street trees, reflective surfaces, and urban open spaces. It had a statement after this that said single-family and 2-family are exempt from all of these things. Well, state law, that's going beyond what state law allows. So what we've done is say single-family, 2-family, 3-family, and 4-family are exempt or shall not be required to comply with the specific standards that relate to building design. And so we've gotten a little more pointed with alignment with the state law requirements. And then I mentioned this, the fee in lieu of sidewalks. It referenced a specific hard number of $75 per linear foot. That cost per linear foot was increased during the last budget adoption of the fee schedule. There is reference to adjustments to the fee schedule as highlighted. That's in the code. But what we've proposed is to remove the hard number so that you just refer to the fee schedule, and as that changes, you don't have to make changes to the ordinance. We went through our typical process of reviewing comprehensive plan consistency and looking at compatibility, change conditions, public interest, public facilities, and effect on natural environment, and all of that was provided in the staff report, and so I'll just open it up for any questions. Planning board supported this with a unanimous support, and they had the comprehensive plan consistency statement shown on the screen as well as the rationale for approval here.
All right. Any questions? All right. City clerk is not here, but this has been advertised.
Yes,
In
ma'am.
accordance with general statutes.
Yes,
Thank
Mayor,
you.
it has. Mhm.
So we will open this public hearing. Has anyone signed up for any of our public hearings? No? Okay. Is there anyone online wishing to speak?
No, Madam Mayor.
Okay. If that is Okay. But no one for this one? No. Okay. In that case, we'll go ahead and close that public hearing. Council, discussion or a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move City Council adopt an ordinance amending the official City of Hendersonville zoning ordinance, Article 5, zoning district classifications, Article 6, general provisions, Article 7, development review, and Article 18, mixed-use zoning to align with NC General Statute and updates to the city's fee schedule based on the following. The petition is found to be consistent with the Gen H comprehensive plan based on the information from the staff analysis and the public hearing, and because the proposed amendments align with the Gen H comprehensive plan goals and guiding principles. We find this petition in conjunction with the recommendations presented by staff to be reasonable and of public interest based on the information from the staff analysis and the public hearing, and because the proposed changes bring zoning ordinance into alignment with NC General Statute by relieving 3 and 4 family dwellings from building design standards. The proposed changes bring the zoning ordinance into alignment with NC General Statute by providing site design standards for all uses in mixed-use districts, and the proposed changes provide clarity to the provisions for fee in lieu of sidewalks.
Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of the zoning text amendments, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Okay, got that one. Next, we have a public hearing on 412 McMurray Road. And tomorrow.
Hey, good evening, Madam Mayor, members of City Council. If I can, before I start, I want to take a few minutes to thank you all very much for all the support through the years. What your work for staff and you advocating for staff is, you set a precedent in the region. So I want to thank you all for that. It's greatly appreciated. I love working in Hendersonville. I've enjoyed my time thoroughly here. I will still live in the city or the ETJ of Hendersonville, so I will still be around. So I'll see you all, and I'll keep an eye on what is going on in the city. I also want to thank Ken very much for his very kind words. I've never been choked up at a city council meeting until tonight, so I want to thank you for that. Very early on, I got to witness a couple of Ken's very elegant farewell addresses, and I hoped one day that my public service and my work would be worthy of one of those speeches. So a dream of mine has come true tonight, so I want to thank you for that. I was hoping it would happen. I didn't know that it would happen, but I'm very thankful for it. So I've had a pleasure working with everybody. Our staff is amazing and really just sets an example for the community. I think Hendersonville is in great hands. With that being said, we have a satellite annexation petition. You all had this before you all last month at your meeting, and they had asked for a continuance while they continue working with Henderson County on the zoning aspect. Apparently, they've not gotten the information that they need. I think the conversations are still continuing with the county to figure out that zoning piece. So they have asked for another continuance of the public hearing. Is that okay? So, yeah. So they are asking for it to be once again continued to the following month for the public hearing.
Thank you. Someone want to do that?
Madam Mayor, I move to continue this public hearing to our October meeting. October 2nd.
Okay.
What?
Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of continuing this public hearing until October 2nd, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Ayes have it, and that will be continued. So now we're down to C, public hearing on Mabberry Woods annexation.
So thank you all again. So this is a contiguous annexation petition, and you all are familiar. So this is attached to the Mabberry Woods development that received conditional zoning approval. The current property owners have asked for this petition. It includes 3 separate parcels, which covers the entire development boundaries, which is approximately 6.94 acres. And you all accepted the certificate of sufficiency at your August meeting. So everything has been teed up for a public hearing tonight. I have included a motion for approval and also denial, and I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have. The property owners, I don't believe, are in attendance, but the development team, Zach, is here if you have any questions from the developer side.
Okay. Thank you. Do you want to make any comments?
Just here to answer any questions
Okay.
you might have.
All right. Anyone have any questions? Okay. So in this case, has this public hearing been advertised in accordance with general statutes?
Yes, Mayor, it
Okay,
has.
we'll open that public hearing. One person here has signed up to speak, Lynn Williams.
Good evening, Lynn Williams, Chadwick Avenue. Some of the points that we were talking about, I guess I'm not sure if this is where they're going to talk about public parkland dedication as part of the annexation of the plat. No, it's just annexation. And so they're not going to be rezoning right now,
This is just annexation.
just annexation with no rezoning. Okay, so then I guess my point with that is my concerns about the public parkland and preservation. You know, part of the approval of this site plan was that the community was going to get a pocket park potentially here. And being a part of the conversation so far, it looks like they're maybe pushing for a fee in lieu of, instead of that parkland dedication, saying that the area that would be dedicated for parkland is maybe unsuitable because of flooding. And so this is where I was saying that, you know, we could do something like Eco did in Jackson Park, where they had boardwalks, for example. There was a young woman from the family there, the neighbor, who had spoke up multiple times at public comment with a lot of courage to speak up about how important this park was for her, you know, to be losing this space next door, but that potentially to gain this park. And so it sounds like in these negotiations that the community is going to lose that public park for a fee in lieu of. And so I really think this is a loophole and a challenge here. And so just like you're working with the county for interlocal agreements about how you're going to save farmland and places that are important to our community, this forest is important to this part of the community, you know, parkland and things like that. So I would almost ask for your commitment here today that you'll work with us and the community and the developer to commit to a park here as part of the annexation and that future vision, that continuation of the green space. As you have already approved, it's too dense there and we're going to lose our ecosystem. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone online seeking recognition?
No, Madam Mayor.
All right, then we'll. Oh, I'm sorry, you hadn't signed up, I didn't.
Ken Fitch, 1046 Patton Street. Just some thoughts about this. The proceeding is fairly standard, as the annexation is necessary in order to connect to sewer. And for this project, there are other important services as well. But as we know, the project generated a lot of stressful interactions and situations about compliance and compatibility. And the situation for the neighbors became more than just an annexation of this property, because the annexation of the property then generates the subdivision ordinance with its requirement for a road stub and that famous sign, future road connection. And I think we should be aware of that, because we're going to have issues in our negotiation with the county. How does this interact with adjacent property? Because it does affect the neighbors that there is an annexation with the subdivision ordinance. And that's just something I think to be aware of going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fitch. All right. Okay. Guess we will close that public hearing. Council, discussion?
Madam Mayor,
Motion?
whoops, sorry. Madam Mayor, I move City Council adopt an ordinance of the City of Hendersonville to extend corporate limits of the city as a contiguous annexation to annex that property owned by Wanda Ponder, Eugene Ponder, Edgar, whoa, what am I saying? Eugene Holbert, Edgar Holbert, John Holbert, identified as pins 9578-43-7077, 9578-53-0013, and 9578-43-9238, finding that the standards established by the North Carolina General Statute 160A-31 have been satisfied and the annexation is in the best interest of the city.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion? Not? Those in favor of the annexation of Mabberry Woods say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Ayes have it, and that's taken care of. Thank you, Mr. Morrow, for everything.
Miss you.
Yeah, thank you all again. It truly has been a pleasure. I couldn't ask for anywhere else to start my career, so I really thank you for everything y'all have done for me. Thank you. I'm just down the road, so if y'all ever need anything, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, new business, Only Hope WNC Special Appropriations Revocation. Mr. Conant?
Mayor Volt, members of the City Council, the staff had placed this item on your agenda. We still need action asking the council to revoke that special appropriation, but you did receive a letter today from a representative of Only Hope WNC asking that they withdraw their application, withdraw any funding from the city, and they'll ask for some additional information that we'll meet with them. But we would like for council to take action to vote to revoke that amount and reappropriate the $3,000 to Only Hope back into the general fund for fiscal year 2026. So we'll ask you to do that. Also, I will say I've spoken to many of you and happy we should discuss it tonight if you'd like about what we knew, what we saw in the application, and what we didn't ask. Staff has taken that to heart as we go forward with our special appropriation process. Sometimes assumption is never good. So the assumption that there was a license there that was not there, even though we were not directly involved. That's a question that we will definitely ask in the future. I apologize to the council that was not on the application, and we'll look to make those amends going forward so we can protect the public and try to prevent. We can only do so much. We can try to prevent any funding coming from the city for a potential organization that does not meet all the legal requirements. So I'll be glad to answer any questions or stand by from there. So.
Any questions? No, it's just a sad and uncomfortable situation. So, but we'll do better going forward. All right, approval of Senate Bill 69 implementation.
Mayor, we do need a vote to.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep.
Madam Mayor, I move City Council revoke and reappropriate $3,000 awarded to Only Hope WNC for fiscal year 2026.
Is there any discussion? Not. Those in favor of revoking and reappropriating the award say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Ayes have it. Now we're set to go on.
Thank you.
Okay. Approval of the implementation schedule.
So Mayor Volt, members of City Council, at your second workshop meeting last week, staff, myself presented a proposed implementation schedule for moving forward with the items that we have agreement between Henderson County and the City of Hendersonville related to Senate Bill 69. At the time, it was my impression that those 4 items, 4 out of 5, we had mutual agreement as it relates to establishing the Water and Sewer Commission, as it included contracting with the rural fire districts, water and sewer planning, as well as rate equalization. I think the city is still prepared to honor those 4 items with, in addition, discussion related to land use and annexation. However, I know the council is aware of the comments made at the county commission meeting on Tuesday. There appears to be some confusion about what the county was asking, the city was asking the county to do, and some disagreement about whether there is agreement with the 4 items, 4 of the 5 items. Staff is still prepared to move forward with the implementation, but I would maybe propose an alternative approach that council directs staff to write a formal letter address it to all the county commissioners on behalf of this entire board, with signatures from all 5 of you, that would explain our request for them to consider our interlocal agreement that we proposed, which would include moving forward with the Water and Sewer Commission, planning, joint planning, which this council has supported and believes that is the best path forward. Also move forward with contracting with rural fire departments, water and sewer planning, joint planning for that, and the equalization of rates. Formally put that out there, put our formal expectations. I'm open for discussion, but that we write a letter directly to each commissioner on behalf of the city council, and see what response. It may delay our implementation a little bit, but see if the county commissioner are so inclined to take action on those items. That's just a suggestion, something I thought about a good bit on the way back from Raleigh today, but open for other alternatives and other discussion. We also are working on a charter for the Water and Sewer Commission. We received some comments, so we want to make sure we would include that in a complete package of your interlocal agreement, the charter, an implementation schedule, and any other documentation that we have. And I will just report for the record that your interim interlocal agreement was distributed by email to the county manager and the county attorney on August the 8th. August 8th, 2025, just so there was some confusion at the county commission meeting that the commissioners had not seen that. So it had been distributed to them, and we have email record of that. And also, I believe I took a hard copy, but I don't have firm record, but I know it was definitely emailed to them. So I'll stand by for questions, guidance, direction from this board.
Anything?
I would prefer to move forward with adoption of the implementation schedule, because I feel like that is what we've committed to doing. I would like them to join and be a part of that implementation schedule. But that would be my preference, but it's up to you guys, and I'd like your input as well.
I'm getting really tired of talking about this. I like John's idea, but I also wonder, like, are we just gonna do this again and just keep going around and around and around and around?
Is there an option to send a formal letter that has, I don't know how to phrase it, not a due date, but like, if there's no response by our next, like it will be on the agenda in our next council meeting, and if there's no response, we're voting on it. But in a nice way, in a professional way, in a way that John would write it.
I mean, I like that way.
These are joint agreements, and if only one side agrees, it's kind of a moot question.
This is true. Maybe we should send it certified return receipt.
I would like to give them, I would like for us to know that we have given all of the opportunities, all of the good faith opportunities that we can. And I think there's a space to say, here's the last one.
The last opportunity?
Yeah. Yeah.
The last 72 months have been.
Yes, I'm also coming into this like on the heels of y'all having done this for years, so I think I have a little more patience for it. So I'm happy to defer. I'm just throwing out options here.
I mean, I don't hate this. Here's our last opportunity.
What if we adopt on our end, and we send the letter requesting that they review and equally adopt? Maybe they want us to ask them. I don't know, we haven't asked them before. Maybe we should ask them nicely. Would you please?
Would you please?
Would you please?
I mean, that's really what I had thought. You know, you adopted the interlocal. If the interlocal, whatever we called it.
And we said a supplemental.
I just want to make sure we're talking about the right.
Yeah, yeah, the one that the city council, we could send that in addition to you adopting the implementation, we could send that in a letter and ask them to please put this on their agenda to take action. We ask them, informally ask them, so it's really kind of doing both things, right? What you're talking about, saying, would you please do this by this date and time? And, or at their next meeting, or maybe by the time we meet again in October, or so.
I like that idea a lot, because when the mayor and I met with them, there were very clear things that we agreed, that we would mutually agree that we would move forward with. And I feel like by us adopting this implementation schedule, we are showing our commitment to doing what we said we were going to do and the agreements that we had. And so I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Okay.
What do you think,
Okay.
Melinda? Are you cool? Are you cool with it? Yes. Melinda's probably just as sick as everybody else is of talking about it.
Well then, MPT.
Madam Mayor, I move the City Council approve the proposed Senate Bill 69 implementation schedule, as well as forwarding a letter to the county commissioners requesting a formal adoption as well.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Not, those in favor of the proposals regarding Senate Bill 69, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say no. Ayes have it. Okay, we'll see what happens.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Good luck.
Yeah. All right, and next is approval of Gray Mill promissory note termination.
Mayor Volk, members of City Council, something to celebrate if we move forward with this. Ultimately, a little bit premature, but I will say that, the Gray Hosiery Mill is 5 years past opening and full occupancy, and the original developer is in the process has offers to purchase. If you remember, there was a promissory note the city advanced, or was Madam Attorney basically loaned them money.
We loaned them CDBG funds.
CDBG funds.
500,000.
And so part of that is they would repay it, as well as there was a condition for affordable units there, 7 affordable units. So they're in the process of selling, where they would also pay back the money they owe us. And in order to sell, the new purchaser is interested in not having the AMI requirement, and Gray Mill is willing to pay us a premium to remove that requirement, a premium of $50,000. And so Angie has drafted agreement for them to pay off the promissory note, as well as the $50,000 premium, under the condition that the existing tenants will have 1 year, 12 months, to remain in their units at the same rental rate. So at the current AMI rate. So if they do close on the property, the city will receive our money, full payment back plus $50,000, which we will then reinvest in your affordable housing strategies. And so we ask you to approve the termination of the promissory note. There's a proposed agreement in your package that Angie drafted, and I'll let Angie say anything that needs to be clarified.
There's a second promissory note that would be paid off as well for the purchase of the property. $200,000 was the face amount of that note, and I don't recall what the payoff on that is.
Like 70,000 or something?
About 70?
277,000.
Okay. So we would be getting that money as well.
So total was 570 plus the 50, right? So the city will receive that.
Total is 770 plus the 50, just over 800,000.
Yeah, so that money will come back into city coffers that were loaned out, and also can be used for affordable housing, and partial, that would be part of the repaying the general fund.
And one thing before we would closed, we would make sure the grant was closed out.
That's right, with
It's
the
not,
Department of
it's not been formally closed out with the state, just something that we have to do.
We can celebrate repayment to the city of all funds associated with the project and the reservation of the mill, so.
And the 12-month period starts at the date of closing.
Closing. If they vacate early on their own, that would end it for that unit. They don't have to fill it for the last 3 months.
There's another point of celebration there that I appreciate. I know that a lot of work went into deciding how long to retain those units, and I know that I'm not alone on council as far as our concern with ensuring that the tenants who are in those affordable units are able to maintain them, because it's very difficult to find more units right now, and it's important that they have the dignity and respect of at least 1 year in the current home that they're in.
And we've also talked about trying to partner with a nonprofit to help find them housing when it's time to get out. So we don't want to leave them hanging.
Thank you.
But this is also a statement of we actually still need rental units here in this community, right? Yep.
That's right.
I got confused the other day about that one. This could be opening a can of worms, but the money that we would get overage that we're going to use for affordable housing, I just feel like, how are we keeping track of those monies specifically? Like, is there a specific fund that we have set aside?
Your deputy city manager is going to answer that question right now.
Yes, there's a specific fund set aside, and there's project numbers associated with each set of grant funds. So we've presented a variety of different housing grants, and we can do a refresher on that because the last time we presented that was right before Hurricane Helene this time last year. And we had some slides in the budget workshop on it, but we can send information on where all those are, what the funds are allocated for, and where the budget versus the expense stands. So it is accounted for separately, and this money will be put into those specific pots.
And CDBG funds have to be reinvested. They have to when they get paid back.
Other comments or questions? Okay. Is there a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that the city council approve the termination of the Gray Mill promissory note.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Not? Those in favor of approving the termination say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries, and can move forward with that.
Thank you.
See what else we can do for affordable housing. All right, city manager report?
Just three quick things. One, letting the council know that there will be a 9/11 remembrance ceremony next Thursday at 9 a.m. in front of the historic courthouse. Just to let you know that will be occurring there, and our public safety departments will be participating. Also, celebration a little bit. We did install downtown cameras right before the Apple Festival, and they have, as we saw with some emails and Facebook posts and texts yesterday, that those cameras are fully operational and have already benefited us. And so thank you for allowing us to invest in those cameras up and down Main Street. I know the police department appreciates it. They're on just about every block, I believe. So we have those. So as you walk down Main Street, wave up, look up and smile. You're on candid camera. And then finally, just I'll send out a mass email, but I felt like I should do it publicly. Just congratulate the staff and thank them for a wonderful weekend Apple Festival. Our team, as always, exceeded all expectations. We had remarkable weather, which I'm sure Lou Holloway will take credit for. No, just kidding. But excellent weather. Our public works staff, police, fire, all were down there all weekend. Safe event, clean event. Came back Tuesday morning, and hardly tell that anything had happened. We'd had, I think it was a record crowd or definitely record sales. If you talk to any of the local apple growers, which are 99% of the apples are local there despite some Facebook posts. I just want to be clear about that, that the local apples and our local apple growers at 4 o'clock on Monday had sold out and were ready to go home. So I think that they said it was probably the best festival they've had in years, as well as other vendors and those. So just thank our staff and the time they dedicated to make a great weekend in Hendersonville.
Thank you. Council, any comments?
Well, John took mine because I was going to thank Jay Hillerly for getting the cameras downtown and what excellent work that was. So thanks a lot, John.
Mm-hmm. Can say ditto.
Yeah.
A lot of work went into it. It was very successful for the community.
Thanks, Jay, wherever you are.
I'm sure he's listening.
He's always listening.
Anything else? Anyone else?